Welcome back to the 6th episode of the Napoleon Complex, where in this episode with my co-host, Axel Caballero, we'll be talking about the illustrious Agent Garbo. So, it's going to be a little bit of a long explanation. Basically, Agent Garbo was originally he was just a random Spanish, not soldier. He was just like a chicken farm owner. Or some sources say he was a busboy at a restaurant that wasn't his. He wasn't getting paid well.
Right.
He owned chickens. He was just broke.
That's crazy.
Okay. But he had a strong vendetta against fascist and socialist at the time. This is in early 1900s. All right. He had a strong resentment against them because years prior he was in the Spanish War, which was very complicated, and I'm not gonna get into. But essentially, it was fascist versus socialist.
Mm-hmm.
He was originally on one side, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they kicked him out and they beat him up and whatnot. They treated him horribly, and so he tried to defect to the other side. But those dudes thought he was lying, and so they beat him up and treated him horribly. And so by the end of it, he just hated both sides, right?
Sounds like a rough day.
Yeah, it was horrible. He had a horrible life, and he was
crazy.
broke and whatnot. But then he
he was broke on top of all
yeah,
of
he
it.
was broke.
That's the worst part of everything.
Yeah, so he hears about this upcoming party called the National Social something, which is shortened down into Nazis. You know?
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he hears about the Nazi party growing or whatnot, and guess what? They're fascist and they're socialist, and so he really hates them, and so he tries to go, fight them, I guess, and he goes to Britain, and he asks, "Can I be a spy for y'all?" And he's just a random chicken owner in Spain, and so they don't trust him, and they're like, "No," and he applies 3 separate times, and all 3 times he fails, I guess.
He gets rejected.
Yeah, and so what he does, he decides to take things into his own hands, and he becomes his own agent for himself, right? What he does is that he mails a letter to Germany headquarters. This is I think the start of World War II, right? At the start, he mails Germany, and he puts on this facade of someone. He says, "I'm a spy for Germany. I'm on your side. I'm currently in London, and I'm in here to infiltrate."
He was just straight up lying.
Yeah, he was straight up lying in the entire letter, and he was just like, "All right, I'm a great soldier. Y'all should trust me." And they do. They're just like, "Yeah, all right, cool. Report to us whenever you need it." And so since he's in London, they're gonna fact check him, right? And so they grab a whole bunch of books and say what it's like to live in London. And they ask him, "So what's it like to live in London?" And what Garbo does is that he walks into a library, grabs the same books they have, and just like, "Oh, it's like this, and this," and he just reads it back to them, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's telling the truth.
He's him.
He's in London."
That's crazy.
And so they start
catfishing the entire country.
literally, and
That's
then
wild.
they're just like, "All right, cool, we have to take him seriously, right?" And so he just starts. He's an actual spy for the Nazis, but doesn't believe in the Nazi cause. And so he just starts sending them false information about random things. I think he had different ways. Either he'd have false information, he'd have really, really close information that was slightly off, or he'd have 100% correct information that was delayed so that it didn't even matter anymore, right? And he did it so much, and it gained so much respect of the German officers because they thought he was legit, and so they start prioritizing him so much, and then after a year or two of Germany kicking France's butt, because they take over France at this point, they start. This Garbo not emails. He mails.
Emails, yeah.
He mails.
He shoots him a text.
To Britain, and he shows them all this stuff. Yeah, see, the Germans trust me. Can I be on your side now? And they're like, yes, of course, right?
Of course.
And so they start backing him, and now he has a whole army of people following him, right? And during all of this, he's lying to Germany, saying that he's building an armada of just spies throughout all of Britain, right? And when in actuality, he's just in his room, typing all these letters by himself and whatnot.
It's tough.
And so Agent Garbo, he gained so much respect, and this is when America starts joining in, and so, I think you know about D-Day, right? Where Americans and Britons, they all dock on the same, like...
On the same shore, right?
Yeah, on the same shore, so that they can... It was like the start of Germany falling, basically what it is. And basically, for that to happen, they really needed Germany to lay off that beach. That beach was like the only way in. There's no other way in, right? And they really needed to get through.
The Americans.
Yeah. And so they asked Garbo if they can like mislead the Germans somehow, right? And so Garbo is like, okay, I got an idea, and he mails Germany, and he tells Germany, all right, on the south side of England, I think Italy, the Americans are gonna arrive with hundreds of thousands of tanks and whatnot. And he's like, and they're like, oh my God, if Garbo says it, it must be true, right? True. And so they send everyone. They spend hundreds of thousands of Nazi soldiers, tanks and whatnot, in the middle of nowhere, just south of Europe, for no reason. And then they're like, all right, where is he? He's like, just wait, they're gonna arrive any day now. And they're like, okay, cool. And they stay there for 6 months, just randomly, just with all their tanks and whatnot. And they're like, okay, Garbo, when is it happening? Oh, it's happening, man. It's happening. Don't worry about it. Just sit there and wait. And they're like, okay, cool. Because they don't want to piss off Garbo. At this point, Garbo was so famous in Germany that he's like right under Hitler at this point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And actually around this time, Hitler like hand writes a letter to Garbo, giving him the Iron Cross, which is like the highest medal you can get as a Nazi soldier, right? That's to so Garbo, a person who is not even like...
That's so bad.
Because he's not even on either side. He really just doesn't like fascists for some reason. And so he has the Iron Cross, and while all of these people are waiting, the Americans come in and they like just plow through the German army, which the Germans actually were about to win that, because it was actually a very close call anyways. Which just goes to show, like, if Garbo wasn't there, then...
There would have just been wiped.
Yeah, World War II would have been...
One-sided.
Yeah. So Garbo really came in clutch in that.
That's why.
Right?
Yeah.
And after all of this, Germany lost and whatnot, and I think the President of the United States, or President of the Allied Powers or whatever, he comes in and he's like, Garbo, you did so much for us, we're going to give you the Medal of Honor, which is the highest grade medal on the Allies' power.
So this man has quite the resume.
He has the highest medal on both sides of World War II. He's the only person in history to ever do that. And yeah, he actually like...
Was he still broke at the end of all this?
Yes.
That's crazy. Actually?
Yeah, he didn't like accept any of the money, and he just started his own like little like shop, and he just like lived there for like a couple years, and then like died after.
That's great. That's great. Garbo was a broke boy at heart.
Yeah, that's all he was. He just really didn't like Nazis, or he really didn't like fascists.
Man, I like it.
And that's Agent Garbo. Actually, they called him Garbo because Garbo was the name of a very famous actress, and he's a spy who acts.
So he needed a code name.
Yeah, he needed a code name, so they called him Garbo.
It's like nowadays if you would have been called like Agent Scarlett Johansson. But like if Scarlett Johansson says it has to be true.
But yeah, on the back of World War II, actually the next two are actually about World War II. This one isn't World War II; it's actually World War I.